system. I'm Jazmin Logan, and I'm joined by Emeritus Political Science Professor Dr. David Kanervo. Today we'll be covering news in American politics relating to the recent District 7 debate, updates on the government shutdown, and President Donald Trump's meeting with China. So stay tuned. Today we're taking you inside the District 7 congressional debate in Clarksville. I was on the ground at the Chamber of Commerce as candidates went head-to-head on hot-button topics like immigration, tariffs, and even the Epstein files. Here's a closer look at what they had to say about those issues. As Election Day nears, only 3 of the 6 candidates running for Tennessee's 7th congressional district seat tackled some of the biggest issues facing the nation at the Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce private forum. Immigration enforcement was one of the first topics to spark debate.
I think the way it's being done currently is overly aggressive.
Our Congress has not done basic things like define birthright.
I think all of us would agree that our immigration system is entirely broken.
But the tone changed when the discussion turned to the Epstein files.
If the government is of the people, by the people, then they should be releasing those files.
Politicians protecting perverts needs to stop.
I have committed to releasing the Epstein files as a vote in Congress.
From there, the conversation shifted to the economy and the impact of tariffs.
I think the tariffs as executed by President Trump are unconstitutional.
I don't blame the executive. Congress doesn't do his job, so he's doing everything he can. But Congress has to start doing their duty.
The unpredictability that tariffs are executing on our economy, they hurt local economies, they hurt local supply chains.
The forum gave voters a clearer picture of where the candidates stand heading into the District 7 election. Early voting begins November 12th and runs through the 26th, with Election Day set for December 2nd. Dr. Kanervo, from your perspective, how important are debates like the Chamber of Commerce Forum in shaping voter opinions?
Well, they can be very important, actually, because none of these candidates are well known in this community. And so having a local debate like this put on by the Chamber of Commerce is important because it helps people to become familiar with who the candidates are and give them some idea about what the candidates stand on the issues. And they did that at least a little bit in this debate. I was a little disappointed that the candidates were not more specific in some of their answers. I thought they were a little broad and didn't give what I would call real solutions necessarily to any of the issues that were brought up. But they did give some hint, I think, as to where they stand and what's important to them.
Yes, and they did touch on some controversial topics as well. How do some of those issues reflect the priorities of District 7 voters?
Well, I think they reflect the priorities of this district pretty well, certainly. One of the issues that came up, of course, was the tariffs and how that might affect the economy and the cost of goods, which are particularly important to voters here. We all know that inflation is a problem, that food particularly is costing more and becoming more difficult for some people to obtain. And so that's an issue which certainly I think has a lot of interest here. Other issues such as the Epstein files, those are something which, while it's not going to affect us particularly individually, nevertheless does have an interest, I think, among a lot of voters, perhaps as voyeurs, is wondering what and who was involved. Other things like immigration. Immigration is an important issue here because immigrants are an important part of our building trades industry. There is a development going up next door to me, and many of the workers there are Hispanic, and so which certainly does not bother me, but at the same time may bother others, and I keep waiting for ICE to show up to see whether that will be a problem. But it has a lot of negative impacts on people. One of the candidates talked about the aggressiveness of the immigration or removal, and that's been a real problem, I think, because people who are in fact citizens already, or people who have all the proper documentation, have been either arrested and held for a period of time, or harassed unnecessarily. So those are all things which I think are a real problem and an interest to locals. We have businesses that depend upon immigrant workers, and not only the construction trades, but certainly farmers. And so all of that makes a difference, I think.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think the panelists at the forum did a good job of asking some important questions.
Yes.
The Epstein files, although an unconventional question, has been gaining a lot of national coverage. So that can be a point of importance for some voters. And even with immigration, that has had a lot of people split. It's caused some controversy with the ICE deportation. So understanding where the candidates stand on those issues, I think, would carry some importance with voters for sure.
Sure, I think you're right, and the panelists did touch on important issues, it seems to me.
They even discussed veteran care as well, which here in Clarksville with Fort Campbell is very, very relevant.
Yes, yes. And so they did touch on those important issues, and they got at least some measure of where the candidates stand on those issues. And I think that's made it a very worthwhile forum for the Chamber of Commerce to present.
Very true, but there were only 3 candidates present, 2 of which were independents, and one of whom was the Democratic nominee. The Republican nominee and the 2 other independent candidates did not attend. How do you think their presence or absence can shape the debate and voter perception?
I don't know if the absence of independent candidates makes a whole lot of difference, because we know that with the two-party system, independents have a very difficult time winning. I was a little surprised at the absence of the Republican candidate. And what it makes me think about is that, number one, either he's very confident because this is primarily a Republican district, and so he didn't want to put himself into a situation where he might make a mistake and say something that would cost him votes, and he's depending instead on his party identification to carry him through. But secondly, it became very clear during the primaries that Mr. Van Epps is a very strong supporter of the president, and essentially will do whatever the president tells him to do in regard to voting. And so, given that, there are some issues, such as immigration, such as Veterans Affairs, where the president's position may not be very popular, and it would put Van Epps then in a more difficult situation trying to answer those kinds of questions.
Yes, and candidate Van Epps, he is running here in a supermajority red state, and he does have the endorsement of both the sitting President Donald Trump and Governor Bill Lee. So I can certainly see why you've come to the conclusion that he's very confident about this election. However, in any election, I think it is very important that the voters hear from the candidates themselves why they're running and what they hope to achieve in that office.
That's certainly true, and I'm disappointed that Van Epps was not involved, but it I think it's perhaps for somewhat negative reasons from my point of view, and that he's just simply worried about being able to support Trump's positions publicly.
Yes, and I am definitely excited to see the results of this election on December 2nd, so don't forget to vote. We'll be right back after this short break to discuss some recent changes as the government shutdown continues.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. It's time to start saving now. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro.
In just 2 days, SNAP food stamp benefits will no longer have federal funding, causing concern for millions of Americans. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says it will not tap into its $6 billion contingency fund to cover food stamp benefits next month if the government shutdown continues. Sherelle Hubbard has more on what some states are doing to fight food security.
Come November 1st, millions of Americans may not receive food stamps through the federally funded Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP, which helps feed more than 42 million low-income Americans each month. Trump tried to assure reporters Friday that it's a non-issue.
Yeah, everybody's going to be in good shape, yep.
But that conflicts with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which has said it will not use its $6 billion contingency fund to cover food stamp benefits next month.
I want to be very clear. USDA, during this shutdown, has contingency funds that they could release just like us. They are choosing not to.
Illinois' governor says the state government is going to support its food pantries as best it can, but blamed a Republican-controlled government for the looming lapse in benefits.
Donald Trump is unwilling to reopen the government, unwilling to sit down with Democrats. I mean, he's in control of the government. He should be willing to talk about it and work on it before those SNAP benefits are taken away.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune said Monday that he believes Senate Republicans will do what they can to ensure SNAP payments continue, but insisted that the best way to keep the programs working is to end the shutdown. I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
So, Dr. Kanervo, we're now several weeks into this shutdown. From your perspective, what's the main sticking point keeping lawmakers from reaching a deal?
Well, for the Democrats, the sticking point seems to be the cost of health care insurance. What we know is that with the cuts that were in the so-called Big Beautiful Bill that was passed earlier, that's going to eliminate much of the subsidies which were allowing citizens to be able to afford health care under the Affordable Care Act. With those subsidies gone, it means that health care expenditures, the insurance costs, are going to be much, much higher for a lot of the citizens who had been using that insurance previously. We're talking about 100%, 75% increases in cost. Some more, some a little bit less, but nevertheless, terrific increases, which the Democrats say that people can't afford. And many of the citizens who have seen the costs say themselves that they can't afford those increases. And so that will mean that they will pay it and they will lose their health care coverage. Democrats are saying that's not acceptable for people to go without health care, that's contrary to what the Affordable Care Act was all about. Republicans, on the other hand, are saying, look, we'll talk about it later. Well, they may or may not. And Republicans are saying, look, we want to get this budget passed. We want to reopen the government, but we're not going to do it until the Democrats come across, and the Democrats are not going to come across to support Republican bills unless something is done about health care. So that's the essence of it, the health care costs.
Yes. And now this continued shutdown is starting to affect government benefits like SNAP, but what other major federal services or workers will be affected by this?
Well, of course, we know that the military are not getting paid. And so particularly all the soldiers who are here in Montgomery County through Fort Campbell will not be receiving a paycheck. We know that at the airports that those who are flight controllers, who are ones who help the planes land and take off, are not getting paid. Plus they're working overtime because there's a shortage of flight controllers. And so those are two very important people who are not getting paid. And I'm sure there are other what we might call normal or everyday bureaucrats, people who work in the Treasury Department, people who work in Health and Human Services, people who work in the Department of Energy. They have been furloughed, and so they're not getting paid as well. So virtually all government, federal government services have been affected.
And as far as we know, in terms of negotiations, there doesn't seem to be an end in sight just yet.
Right, there are no negotiations that are planned. What seems to be among the things that are preventing that, the Republican administration is saying that Democrats have to give in. They have to support the big, beautiful bill cuts. Democrats say they're not going to do it. The president, I think, is counting on the fact that people are going to be going hungry as something which will force the Democrats to give in so that the SNAP benefits can be reinstated. Democrats, however, while they are concerned certainly about people going hungry, nevertheless believe that health insurance is equally important and that people have to have health insurance. So we've got this standoff between both sides that shows no signs of breaking, and certainly the president and Republicans believe, I think, that the Democrats are the ones who are going to suffer politically from the standoff.
But the people who are being affected by this shutdown so far, the ones who are losing the SNAP benefits and the veterans that you mentioned here in Clarksville, our military town, do you think this prolonged shutdown could impact their perception as a voter moving forward?
Sure, I think the impasse is going to help one party more than another, and from what I am seeing and reading, it seems to me that the polling shows that the Democrats are not being hurt as badly as the Republicans, that there seems to be more negative opinion about Republicans. After all, Republicans control the House, the Senate, the presidency, and for all practical purposes, the Supreme Court. And so it seems to me that that's where people are putting more of the blame than on the Democrats. The Democrats, I think, are trying to help people, take care of people best they can. Republicans seem to be, quite frankly, a little more hard-hearted about it.
Yes, and it's very interesting to see how that polling is coming back so far. And I'm curious to see how that might develop as this shutdown is prolonged. But Governor Tim Walz, he said the USDA is choosing not to use their contingency funds to help feed these struggling families. From a political standpoint, what could be driving that decision?
Well, the more that people become aware of that fact, I think it could be something which hurts the Republicans more than the Democrats. Trump, of course, as chief executive, can order the Department of Agriculture and the SNAP program to use that money to feed people. It's as simple as that. But Trump, I think, believes that, again, that Democrats are going to be more hurt by the cutting of the benefits, that more people will blame the Democrats. That doesn't seem to be the case right now.
Yes, and I guess only time can tell, but in terms of the veterans that are being impacted here locally, we actually do have some communication students here at Austin Peay that are going out and speaking with some of the veterans that are being impacted by the shutdown. So I'm excited to hear from them once they have an update on what's going on with the veterans in terms of the shutdown from them. And
Sure.
We'll be right back after this short break to discuss Trump's recent meeting with China. So stay tuned.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Today, a high-stakes meeting between U.S. President Trump and the Chinese leader took place. This sit-down comes at a precarious time for relations between the two countries, after an escalating dispute over trade. In the last few days, though, negotiators expressed hope for a deal. Correspondent Julia Benbrook is at the White House with details.
Officials from the United States and China met over the weekend to talk trade and set the stage for this highly anticipated meeting between President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Now, after 2 days of negotiations, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent struck a positive tone, saying that the two teams set up a substantial framework for an agreement. While he said he doesn't want to get ahead of the meeting between the two leaders, he did say he believes the U.S. threat of an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports has gone away. Take a listen.
I think we've reached a substantial framework for the two leaders who will meet in Korea next Thursday. So, on the table, the president had given me maximum leverage when he threatened 100% tariffs if the Chinese imposed their rare earth global export controls. So I think we have averted that so that the tariffs will be averted.
There has been a lot of back and forth prior to these meetings. When Beijing said it would ramp up export restrictions on critical rare earth minerals, Trump responded by threatening sky-high tariffs up to 157%. And China said it could impose countermeasures unless Trump backed down. All that escalation threatening to derail months of progress. In recent days, though, Trump has struck an optimistic tone, saying that he believes this will be a good meeting, maybe even a great meeting. He has said that China will need to make concessions in order to come to a deal, but has suggested that he is open to doing that as well. At the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
This meeting comes after a tense time of trade with China. Dr. Kanervo, how significant is this sit-down in terms of U.S. and China relations?
Well, it really is quite important. The United States and China have the two largest economies in the world, and so they both affect each other. The United States buys a good bit of products from China, and these are our everyday products, which a lot of people use. Certainly the holidays are coming up, and so things like toys are going to be in demand. And so getting those products and getting them at a cheaper cost because of reduced tariffs will be helpful, of course, to American consumers. China, of course, depends on some products from us, but not as much as we depend on them. One of the products which apparently they've reached a deal on is soybeans. And so farmers in Tennessee and other parts of the country that have produced soybeans will apparently have at least some market for their products before too long. So that's helpful as well to both sides.
The Treasury Secretary said that the threat of 100% tariff on Chinese imports may be avoided now. How could this affect U.S. businesses and consumers?
Well, of course, having a 100% tariff on products would be a very serious cost for American consumers. It would make them certainly not very competitive in the marketplace because the price would be set so high. And so the deal that apparently was made last night appears to remove that. In fact, I think the tariff that was stated by the president would be that it would be 10% on Chinese goods, which is half of what it is currently.
Yes.
And so that will be helpful to American consumers, American businesses. We have lots of small mom and pop businesses that do rely on Chinese products as well. And so this will help them, we hope, stay in business.
Yes, and you already mentioned that these tariffs with China could make the holidays this year more expensive. Well, CNN's Consumer Watch recently confirmed that holiday food, at least, is most certainly going to be more expensive for families this year.
Yes. The food itself will be, they need a break on something. And so we hope there'll be somewhat of a break now on the products, the gifts that people might buy for others in the holiday season. How much of a break it will be given the prices from this year to last year, because we still had inflation. And so the prices will still be somewhat higher. How much, we don't know.
Yes, and with this new potential deal, what does this signify about the use of tariffs as potential leverage in trade talks?
Well, we know the president likes tariffs a lot, and he has used them a great deal to try to pressure other countries into doing various things, not only in terms of trade, but also other kinds of behavior, military behavior, or other kinds of things that the president likes or doesn't like, such as drugs, for example. Tariffs have been imposed in some cases because of drug traffic from various countries. And so they are used as a form of leverage. The president is, as we know, a builder, someone who's involved in the economy most of his life. And so this is something which speaks to him in the sense of his own familiarity of higher or lower prices, which the tariffs create.
Yes, and it seems to be working if they were able to reach this agreement.
Yes, yes. So,
well, yes, sir.
So it seems to me that as a result of this agreement, that both sides will get something which is particularly important to them, and we hope that this will translate into maybe better relations in other areas as well.
Yes, I would hope the benefit of this agreement would be for our other contentious trade relationships to also reach more peaceful agreements.
Right.
Well, that wraps up this week's edition of Inside the System. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next Thursday with more political coverage. Stay informed and see you next edition. Have a happy Halloween.